we ready to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock? Thank you. All stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Okay, we'll open up with public comment. Is there any public comment? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Tim Willis, 13 J Lane. Tonight I wanted to speak just very briefly on agenda item number 10, naming of a meeting room after Christopher Willis. I'd just like to express my support, and I hope that the Board of Selectpersons can honor that request of mine to name a room in his honor. He was a volunteer firefighter and EMT who tragically passed away of cancer at 24 years old. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment going twice? 3 times. Okay, no other public comment. Okay, can I have approval of the minutes from the March 18th, 2025 regular meeting?
Make a motion.
Motion by Trish, second by Al Bruno. Discussion?
I just have one correction for spelling. Underneath item number 16, appointments on page 5. It's for Matthew Malberti.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just Malberti, not Y.
Aye. All right. Thank you. Any other discussion? With that change, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 5-0-0. Thank you. Okay. Item number 5, reset canceled, section 7-163, public hearing for Tuesday, April 15, 2025 at 6:45 in the Norma Drummer Room of Seymour Town Hall for the potential sale of town-owned property at 100 Prospect Street. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Al,
I'll second the motion.
second by Fred. Discussion? No discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 5-0. Please mark your calendars for the 6:45 special meeting on April 15th. Item number 6, section 7-163, public hearing for Tuesday, April 15, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in the Norma Drummer Room of the Seymour Town Hall for the potential sale of town-owned property at the corner of 35 Cogwheel Lane and 136 New Haven Road.
So moved.
Motion by Al.
Second.
Second by Trish. Discussion? No discussion. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. Discussion and possible action regarding the bid award for the Main Street Pedestrian Improvement Project, State Project Number 124-17GR. If you remember back, this was the grant that Sheila came in front of the Board of Selectmen to discuss back in September of 2023. As you can see, it's taken the state this long to grant and approve the design. The recording and the minutes are still up on the website if you want to go back and look at the design for that. Can I have a motion? Oh, wait, Rich? No? Bid the award? It's in their packet. I thought Brian was going to be here to discuss it. Okay. You can discuss it. Go ahead.
Through you, Madam First Selectwoman. So in your packet, you'll first see the authorization award letter from the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation, the amount of $249,589. Also acceptance of the projected low bidder Earthworks Excavating Incorporated. As mentioned, this project was delayed slightly due to funding with the DOT, but also due to some concerns about changes to the downtown Main Street area based on changes to the train station. They were looking at removing the lights at the corner of Bank and Main Street. So that needed some review, first from local engineering and then from DOT engineering. So they held the project up while that was done. All of that has been closed out. It looks like the light is actually going to be removed. They'll be making some updates to the corner of Main Street and Bank Street. So also in your packet, you have from B&B Engineering, excuse me, a recommendation letter, and it lists out the 4 different companies that bid on the project. Earthworks Excavating Incorporated was the low bidder at $249,589. You'll see in the third paragraph from the end, both the town and B&B Engineering have prior experience working with Earthworks Excavating as they completed the sidewalk improvements along Woodside Avenue, which was state-funded, publicly advertised project. We had no problems. We found the work to be exceptional. Project came in on time and under budget. So it is the recommendation from B&B Engineering that the bid be awarded to Earthworks Excavating Incorporated. And then the last page of the packet is just a tally of the bids themselves. So if you want to look at the specific makeup.
Yeah, I did look at that, and there was a bid for a survey for $850. I'm like, no one surveys for $850 nowadays.
I was going to ask about that. Okay.
No one surveys for that. All right. With that, any discussion? A motion first? Motion to
I'll
approve?
make a motion.
All in favor? We did motion already.
We did it, right?
No
no
motion was
motion.
made. So it would be to award the
Earthworks.
project to the low bidder, Earthworks Excavating Incorporated, as recommended by town attorney, B&B engineer, wow, B&B Engineering.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Kurt. All right, motion by Al,
Second?
second by Trish, discussion.
I will be disqualifying myself from voting because I represent Earthworks.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Noes?
I disqualify myself. Abstaining.
Abstain, thank you. The word was on my tip of the tongue. All right. Chair votes aye, motion carries 4-0-1. Thank you. 8, discussion and possible action regarding the Seymour Affordable Housing Committee request ahead NBCOG, which is the Naugatuck Valley Council of Government, to perform a survey of the townspeople on the subject of housing in Seymour, and we have Mary Ann Robinson, who's the chair. Robinson, I'm so sorry, to discuss what the survey will do.
First, I want to thank you for hearing us, and I want to let you know that we've been meeting for just over a year now. We started with 6 members, 2 have resigned, so we have openings for anyone who would like to join us on the committee. After many discussions and getting information, we have 2 major issues of why we don't have affordable housing. Number 1, nobody's coming to build it. And why is that? I think it's because I don't think the people in Seymour really see the need for it. We haven't had much input from anybody, even though we've, tried to reach out to the public, and I put things on Facebook, and it seems that that's one of the reasons we want to do the survey, to try to get more input. And if people really don't want it and aren't ever going to approve it, it seems we're spinning our wheels here, So Rosalie Averill is going to speak to the details of the census that we want to do.
Great. Rosalie?
Rosalie Averill. Oh, does this not work?
It does, you don't have the feedback. It's only for
38
those on
North
TV.
Benham Road, Seymour. I'm one of the original members that am reappointed to this committee, and we've been meeting monthly. And I almost feel like Groundhog Day. We keep meeting and meeting. We keep coming up with ideas. We're not getting anywhere. When I first got on, I reviewed Oxford's minutes of their affordable housing committee. And lo and behold, the town of Oxford did a survey through VCOG. It's closed. You can't get on the site because it's closed. And I wasn't looking for the answers. I was just looking to the questions that they asked the townspeople. I don't know how it went out, whether it went out by email, Facebook or whatever. It wasn't important. The point of the matter was, I think we have to determine in this town what the housing needs are. So now that leads me to the question, housing needs assessment overview prepared by the VCOG. We got it in October and was asked not to distribute it because it hadn't been made public yet. My question right now is, where is this? Is it sitting on the shelf like a plan of development? Where is this? I mean, we're passionate about this. Maybe we don't need it. Maybe we need it. But we have to let the townspeople know who we are and what the housing situation, the housing crisis is here. And I'll tell you, I've been doing real estate 47 years. 13 years ago, I had a developer and a large parcel landowner meet me in my office and ask me to do a survey just for that, housing needs, apartments and everything. And it took me like 3 weeks. I just did legwork, all the apartments, some of the multifamilies, how much they were charging, what it included, the square footage, the age, blah, 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 blah. They came back to my office and the guy said, I can't afford to do the development. And I said, why? And he goes, I have to get twice of what these people are getting in these apartment complexes. And I said, well, you're not going to get it. I mean, these are facts. And he said, I'll go somewhere else. So my point is, as much as we talk about it, we can't get anybody interested. We can't ask somebody to come to the town of Seymour and lose money on a project. It just doesn't make sense. So if you could tell me, like, where this is, and also if you could see fit to call VCOG, email, whatever, and say if you can authorize the survey, because we don't know what people think affordable housing is. It's workforce housing, basically.
Correct.
People work out of town. They don't live here because whatever. The point of the matter is we need to get a handle on this. And I think the only way to get a handle on it is do what Oxford did. Survey the town, survey the taxpayers, and then let us do our job.
I agree with you. So the plan is sitting with the Planning and Zoning Commission right now, so they have a copy of it. This is so that when the builders come to them like they did on the Pearl Street, they have it and they understand it. But you're right, we need it here in Seymour because we are below our threshold. And what happens is, under the law, is that say Ansonia runs out of room, say Woodbridge runs out of room, say Oxford runs out of
Doesn't
room,
go anywhere.
they can take our property and they can build the affordable housing and they get the tax benefits for us, and we do not.
Absolutely.
And this is what we informed Planning and Zoning and they got some very nasty feedback at a meeting when the housing development wanted to go in. And people don't want it in their backyard, their front yard, their side yard, but they have to understand that we may not have an option and that this has to get done. So that is where that plan is currently. The board has to okay for the survey to be done, which I can't speak for the board, but I don't have a problem with NBCOG doing the survey.
I don't even know if they charged Oxford, if it was free, just said
They do that service for free, but it depends on anything more, how much it would be, and then where that money would come from. So
because we have no budget, just as an
because we have no
FYI.
budget. So,
That was gonna be my question.
yeah, they have, a lot of boards and commissions do not have budgets, and they don't have.
Yeah, I was
yeah.
just gonna question the
Yeah.
cost of the survey, just to have an idea.
The
Maybe
survey,
they did it for nothing. I
they
don't
did it
know.
for nothing.
I just wanted to get my hands on it and see, what did they ask the taxpayers and the homeowners in Oxford? What did they do with it? I mean, maybe it was a joint effort to educate the community and also find out where their thoughts were. Because a lot of people think of affordable housing like, oh, Section 8. It's got a negative impact sometimes. So our reason for being here tonight is maybe have a discussion with George Temple, see how he approached it, who came up with the questions, and what they did with it when they got it back. What was the percentage they got back? I know they said that they were pleased with what came back. I don't know what that means. Any questions?
What is our threshold?
10, what is it? 10%. No, what?
And where
you're
are
gonna
we
say
now?
of what's affordable housing? It's based on the average income
Right.
Alice.
of the people that live here.
So it's 10% is our goal to get to?
If you don't get to it,
And where are we right now? Do you know?
About 5.
About
4 or
five.
5.
Okay,
I know it was under half.
all right.
But I don't know, have you all seen this?
No.
Well, you really should take a look at it. It's like provocative. It's eye-opening. And I think that the boards in this town, P&Z, inland wetlands, ZBA, they better open their eyes and maybe they should see this,
Yeah,
okay? So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Oh, wait, we have to make a vote. All in favor of allowing NVCOG to do the survey for the Affordable Housing Authority? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by
I'll
Trish.
second the motion.
Motion by Teresa, second by Fred. Discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear what the potential cost was, and you were saying how NVCOG did it for,
For
gratis,
free.
for free, for Oxford.
Yes.
And so I would just want to know, and if it's not cost prohibitive, sounds like we should probably do it.
We
So-
should do it. We're at 50% of what the requirement is
Yep.
for the town.
Not a problem, okay. So, I'll actually reach out to Savannah Nicole tomorrow and give her the go-ahead and confirm that there is no cost to it, and if there is a cost, I will email the board and let you know, and then we can do a quick meeting on it to get the approval and figure out where we're gonna get the money from.
And can the board get a copy of that housing needs assessment?
That was my next comment.
Okay.
Kurt, can we send that out to everybody? Because I know we gave it to planning and zoning, so they understood where we are and where we need to be.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Discussion and possible action regarding the Beautification Commission Trails Committee through the Conservation Commission. So there is an ordinance on this. It's Division 9 Beautification Commission. And what this is, the purpose of the Beautification Commission shall be to advise the Board of Selectpersons of beautification and conservation projects of benefit to the town and to undertake the same at the direction and under the supervision of the Board of Selectpersons. The board shall consult with and cooperate with the Conservation Commission and the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse agencies as such project, and Jeff is here as well to discuss it. We already have a ordinance under it, so I would think that they can go underneath that ordinance without creating another ordinance of another committee that may potentially not get volunteers for it and may potentially be left in the ordinance land. But Jeff,
Hi, Jeff Brillo, 129 South Main.
hi.
Hello.
Is there any questions, comments, discussions regarding it?
Nice job on the mission, duties, and procedure. Thank you.
You're very
I
welcome.
appreciate the work that you're putting into this. I really do.
Thank you.
And just, I don't see a problem with having them fall underneath the Beautification Commission, because you're already there. So according to this, there will be a Beautification Commission consisting of 5 members. Initially, 1 member shall be appointed for 1 year, 2 for the term of 2 years, and 2 for the term of 3 years. Subsequent thereto, all members shall be appointed for the term of 3 years. So you already have a list of 5 members that you want to put
Yes,
on
I
this
do.
board. So if you can give us to them and the years of terms, then we'll appoint them at our next meeting to the Beautification Commission. And we'll do it that way. And then you don't have to worry about the Conservation Commission, because you guys will be working together along with the Inland Wetland Commission.
Correct, yeah. That was the intention.
Right. And then the only thing, if you guys are going to be working in a certain area, just let us know so that we can post it and let people know, so you don't have pitch axe thrown at you.
Absolutely, thank you.
You guys laugh. True story.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Great.
Great job.
Thank you.
If I may,
Oh,
are
sure.
we amending the present ordinance, or are we
No.
adopting this ordinance?
No, it's already an ordinance.
Yeah, we have it.
They're just going to go underneath the
But-
Beautification Commission.
The first paragraph states, for simplicity purposes, the agency known as Beautification Commission will here have to be referred to as the Seymour Trails Committee.
No, they'll go
Wow.
underneath the Beautification Commission.
Yeah, that was just my mission
Okay.
statement, so
Oh,
yeah.
oh, okay. So we're not going to rename the
I mean,
commission?
if you decided to in the future, we would still follow the same
Okay.
mission.
I just
We'd
wanted
be under different-
clarification.
You would have to, as my friend Mr. Stanek knows, that would require the ordinance, the present ordinance, to be amended, so we'd have to go through an amendment process. It seems like you have a bunch of different ways to try to achieve this, and I think the easiest approach is just appointing these folks to be your beautification commission. And they have a very similar mission, it appears, to what you were looking for, so that could work just fine. And then down the road, if you want us to amend an ordinance, I guess we could do it.
That is the simplest way, so you can
It is.
target it any way you want. So what you'll be called and what you'll be focusing on for the purpose of your mission, duties, and procedure
same.
would be pointed to where you need it to be.
And once you folks get appointed, and you're going to start doing this stuff on town property, it might make sense to touch base with the first select woman's office, and maybe we'll have a simple hold harmless document that every volunteer can sign who's going to be working. All right,
Sounds good.
thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay. Discussion and possible action on the potential of naming town meeting room after Christopher Willis. May I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to name the town meeting room in the community center that's to be constructed after Christopher Willis, in his
Second.
honor and memory.
Second.
Motion by Fred, second by Trish. Discussion.
I think after all the effort Tim has put in to bring this to our attention about the tree that was inadvertently cut down, I think this is a wonderful gesture, and I think that he's put a lot of good effort into educating us about this matter, and I think it's a great idea.
Great, and and we did, in between meetings, we mentioned the Norma Drummer Room, the Flurry Room, and how important it is to name things, rooms, buildings, after people who have made a difference in our town. And Christopher Willis sure did make a difference in our town. And we are very blessed to have him and lucky as well, just like we are to have you. So with that, I will take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 5-0. Great. Discussion and possible action discussion and possible action regarding a grant application resolution for the Bungay Elementary School project. As you know, we're looking at getting Bungay School, getting some work done, bringing it up, bringing the kids, helping the kids out, helping our teachers out, because that's important, right? And, our kids deserve it. Our kids deserve to be in a safe building. Safe, not just health-wise, that's not what I mean. I mean safe, a learning environment that is for them and that helps them, right? So with that, Kurt, I had a couple of questions. You were going back and forth with the solar, we're going back and forth with the roof, possible money. Does anything change, and how much is it going to cost us?
Through you, Madam First Selectwoman, from the initial presentation that you received from the architect, there was some information that was not presented. I've had some lengthy discussions with the building committee, so they're all aware of the comments I'm about to make to all of you. So there were some concerns with regards to demolishing the school and the additional costs that would be added because of that. The cost would center around the solar array, the roof, and primarily the boiler. It was about $3 million worth of investment that was done in 2020. And it was paid for through a joint grant with the state of Connecticut. So the first thing at hand is where would we stand with the state of Connecticut, because we would need to pay them back. So I reached out to our contacts at the state of Connecticut. They sent to me the reverse amortization schedule. Assuming the new Bungay school went online between April 1st, 2028 and March 30th, 2029, the town would be required to pay the state of Connecticut back $1,264,867. That's an amount that could not be borrowed. That's a one-time payment that is expected. Now again, could we get could we get it waived via legislation? There's always those possibilities. Second issue would be the loss of production from the solar array itself. So there are two things associated with that. There's the actual KWH production. It's that solar array does about 264,000 KWH each year. Our current rate is 12.45%, 12.45 cents. We're locked into that until November of 25. Assuming a 3% increase in electricity costs, which that could be very high, that could be very low, that could be just right, but I think 3% is probably a fair estimate. The loss of the KWH production over the next 10 years is $319,858. Now that is currently an expense offset. So the expense for electricity at Bungay School is reduced by that amount projected to be reduced by that amount over the next 10 years. The next piece is the lost ZREC production. ZREC is a state-run plan that obviously encourages municipalities to look at green energy, and it's a payment based on the KWH production, which is 8.9 cents per kilowatt hour. That's another $188,252 over the next 10 years. So the total initial, I guess, loss is $1,772,978.
Repeat that number again, I'm sorry.
$1,772,978. So that is just, those are kind of the costs. So the only pure cost that the town would have would be the repayment that would need to go back to the state of Connecticut, the 1.2 million. The other roughly 508,000, you can just say is loss of revenue, loss of expense offset. We will continue to have the principal and interest payments for the solar, for the roof, and for the boilers. So I sat down with bond counsel, Matt Ritter, and we had some conversations about the agreement, the lease purchase agreement that we have in place with Bank of America. That's who we did the financing through. So we run into two specific problems with this. And again, problems that we do have solutions for, but first, this is a lease purchase agreement. The lease purchase agreement is secured by the equipment. So if we no longer have the equipment, Bank of America will no longer have a security they'll no longer have an asset to secure their money by. There is provisions in the contract that we need to notify Bank of America within 45 days. So that is of concern to Attorney Ritter. The second concern is this is a tax-exempt lease. We receive obviously reduced interest rates when you do tax-exempt issuances. He's going to start digging through the IRS code depending on tonight. I didn't want to send him on a, on a mission like that if there's no need for it. But his solution to all of this is essentially if we were to go forward, when we went out to permanent bonding for Bungay School. At that point, his recommendation would be to take out the $6 million roughly that we have left with Bank of America and wrap it into the school loan, school bond. His estimates, it'll cost us between $20,000 and $25,000 additionally a year for 10 years, so between $200,000 and $250,000 additional. Doing so would eliminate the tax exempt issue and would also eliminate the lease purchase issue. He did say he wanted to do a little bit more research on that, but off the top of his head, that would be his recommendation to address that concern.
And the reason why I asked this question is because we need to let everybody out there know the total cost, what this is going to cost us for all the residents, so they have everything out there and they can't say that, oh, you guys just passed this and you hit stuff. So we want to make sure everybody out there understands what the total cost for the school is going to be and what the mill rate has the potential to go up to.
So 2 points.
Well, I have a little bit more if I could.
Okay, sure.
And that's the last piece. So I spent some time over the last 2 weeks working with our bond underwriters as well, running 2 different scenarios.
Okay.
And again, the scenario I'm going to give you is the assumption that we do not get the 10% kicker. I'm not opining whether we will get it or not, but you 7 need to be comfortable with what I'll consider as the worst case scenario. So the worst case scenario is a reimbursement of 56.9%. I think there is a strong likelihood that we do get that 10%. Attorney Ritter did suggest that we apply for additional reimbursement, and I explained to that request had been made through Selectman Stanek, through State Representative Claris Detria's office. Obviously, if Attorney Ritter is making that recommendation, that probably carries some weight, seeing as though he's Speaker of the House. So that certainly helps out. So in the worst case scenario, we'll call it, the town would have a project fund amount of $25,687,600. That is roughly 56.9% of a $60 million issuance. Again, you have.
Figure again,
Yeah.
please.
Say that again?
Repeat that figure.
25,687,000.
I'll provide you copies of all this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just for everybody here, though. What's the
Yeah.
number again?
Okay. $25,687,600. That's roughly 56.9% of 60 million. Why 60 billion? We have to put in some additional costs for debt service issuance and so on and so forth above the projected, I believe it's 58 something million for the purchase of the new school. It would have a TIC, or a true interest cost, of 4.39%. That is the projections. It would go into effect November 4th of 2026, and with a final maturity of March 1st, 2056. Now, again, I'm not saying we're going to be held to those dates, but again, when they run the scenario, they have to do it for a specific 30-year period to make it work. So the total debt payment would be $46,359,125. And assuming level interest payments, you'd be at $1,580,874, slightly over 1 mil. So you'd be looking at about 1.1 mil or so, give or take. Should the 10% kicker go in?
Can you define what that means, Kurt, for everybody here? Kind of under state statute, like what do you mean by kicker?
So
We all need to be on the same page.
So if you recall the presentation that was made by the architect, if the town can prove that building a brand new school is cheaper than it is to renovate as new, the state will add a 10% kicker and increase the reimbursement amount by 10%.
So it's additional reimbursement.
It's additional
When you say kicker,
reimbursement.
That's what you mean,
Yeah.
right?
Essentially what they're doing is they're bringing it up to match what the reimbursement would be for renovate as new.
Got it.
So obviously, in the long run, it's a better investment to build as new. But again, the state doesn't want to just throw extra millions of dollars away because everybody then is going to want to build as new, so they need you to justify it. If you can do that, and the architects spent a lot of time doing that, then the state will add that 10%. And to them, it's a better investment in the long run. So assuming that was the case, that $25,687,000 I had mentioned before would drop down to $19,727,600 with the same parameters for TIC, date, maturity, arbitrage yield, and so on. The total debt service payment would be $35,740,440. So, roughly a little under $10 million less. Annual payment would be $1,218,770, so just under 1 mil. The mill would impact in the first year that the full principal and interest was paid. Once that was done, it's in. And again, we have a declining debt schedule. So our debt is designed to get cheaper each year as we go. So what you'd see, and you'll see it in the charts that I send around, there'll be a spike in that first year, and then we'll go right back to the descending debt model. Depending on when the school is done, we will be able to feather these payments in potentially. You could do, certainly you could skip a year of payment, you could do interest-only payment, you can do different things like that, creative things to try to lessen the impact of the overall debt service. When we did get to that point, of course, we would reevaluate all of the different tranches of our debt at that point to see if there is any opportunity for refinancing. I don't believe there will be because interest rates are going up. They're not coming down. And most of our debt was actually refinanced at historically low levels. So there's not really going to be too many opportunities. So the process, just to give a full evaluation, so you would pass your resolutions tonight. It would go to, information would be sent up to the state. The state would approve the reimbursement levels. On the referendum ballot in October that you would set, there would be a vote. We would, assuming it was a favorable vote, we would probably be in front of S&P at some point, I would suspect in December. We would receive our bond rating. We would probably be in the open market at some point late January, early February. And then we would go through the underwriting process at that point. We would probably have $60 million cash in hand through bond anticipation notes, I would suspect, in March. At that point, the school would be built. Let's assume that would take 2 years. At the conclusion of that process, we would then apply back to the state of Connecticut, provide them all the backup, all the detail. The state would give final approval on the reimbursement. At that point, and let's just assume it's 66% for just conversation purposes, the state would take control of 66% of that outstanding amount. We would then be responsible for the 34% that was left. We would make that outstanding debt permanent at that point by actually going back out into the market and taking out permanent bonds. At that point, we would also be responsible for paying the state of Connecticut back whatever the reverse amortization is, which in this projection is 1.2 million. If you were to move, continue to decide to move forward with this, we would need to institute a plan now to try to come up with the cash, so that way when the payment was due, we would have cash in hand. So I would recommend that starting in the fiscal 27 budget, that we try to start putting some money away towards this. I don't think we can get all 1.2 million in such a short period of time, but we can certainly offset some of those costs. But again, we carry the fund balance that we do for reasons like this. This is why you have a fund balance, to protect, one, against emergencies that arise, two, to take advantage of opportunities, and three, to address unforeseen costs, not through anyone's error, but just unforeseen costs that no one would have projected.
Which, if used, runs below a certain threshold, has to come up with a plan for payback, correct? To bring it back up.
Yeah, the town's fund balance policy, if we drop below 8%, it takes board approval, and then a plan needs to be put in place to bring the fund balance back up within a certain period of time.
Okay. If I may, are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Can you, I just want to get some items on the record and maybe clarification, reminders for myself. How long until the solar is paid to Bank of America?
2036.
Okay, so to do nothing would mean
2036.
Bungie sits in disrepair for everyone for a while. I'm not saying you're suggesting that. I'm asking because I'm like, if the option is from the voters to say, I don't want this done until the solar panels are paid off, we're talking about another decade minimum.
Well, yes, but I would assume
which
at that
costs
point,
rise.
I think at that point, then you'd have to look at renovate as new and sort of build around it. But the drawback to that is you can't certify the roof.
Right.
Right,
So,
which was my next
means the roof
question.
now is not available for reimbursement. So that's going to change your cost because, if you assume you're going to pay, I don't keep it, $1 million, and you're going to get 66% of it back, it's one thing, but we're going to pay the $1 million and get nothing back for it. So you're going to have to deal with that separation as well.
Right, so if it's renovate as new, it's really not renovate as new, they're going to deduct for the roof, because if the roof would still have to be done, the solar panels have to be touched. They
They'd have,
cannot be put back on.
they would essentially have to put new roofing around the area that was just done, and I think you'd be hard pressed to get someone that would certify that roof.
Right, it
Because
won't
they
be
didn't do the
certified, and
initial- they didn't do the initial
state will
work.
require a 20-year certification. So that's an issue.
Correct.
Okay, with S&P, working with bond counsel recently to come up with a plan considering, because it's a little bit of an oxymoron here, where the state, if you can prove the build a new school is more economically feasible than renovate as new. Yet we're stuck with the solar panel issue that we have. Working with bond counsel, is that going to be in our favor when S&P comes to review?
Yes and no. I think S&P is not going to like the fact that we're replacing debt, which is the Bank of America loan is 3.53%. That's its tick. They're not going to like the fact that we're replacing that with a higher interest debt instrument, so they're not going to like that. They will have some issue about the $1.2 million projected payment, but if we could show them that we have a plan in place to address some, if not all of that initially, and then we'll have a plan in place to replace the money in a 3-year period, I think they'll look favorably upon that. So when we get to that point, this board is going to have to vote, number one, to allow the usage of whatever fund balance is needed, and at the same time approve a plan to pay it back. So that would be something that would be in the budget each year, and we would just label it out in the debt service line. It would just fall to the bottom and it would go right back into fund balance.
Okay. With the impact to the mill rate, I'd like to understand what other town projects, I know that we don't necessarily know what's coming up, because anything can happen at any time, how this is going to affect any other.
I had them run, and I apologize, this was just from my own knowledge, so bear with me, I don't have it right off the top of my head. I asked them to run a $5 million issuance, just to get an idea. So if you wanted to do roads, if you wanted to upgrade buildings, if you wanted to do anything like that. So any type of infrastructure upgrades, $5 million with a same 30-year replacement. You'd be looking at about $387,000, give or take, a year.
Okay. All right, so my personal opinion is, I know that we do have some time. I don't think we should be doing any resolutions tonight. I think we can do this at our next meeting, and I would like to hear what the plan is with S&P. Because when S&P comes to look at our bond rating, if they evaluate it and it drops, as important as the school is, that's just going to make the borrowing more expensive. So I support the new school. I'm on the committee. It's based on the costs that we have. They're equal, so to me, it makes sense to continue with the new school. But looking at the town as a whole, I still want to know what our plan is with S&P before I move forward.
Along those lines, for fiscal '24, we're projecting a small surplus. So when that comes in, I would recommend putting it in some type of designation. For fiscal '25, right now, we're currently trending toward a surplus. Again, I would lock that money into a designation as well. I mean, we're not talking tons of money. You might be talking, $200,000 between the 2 years. It's not a massive number. But I would recommend that in fiscal 20, it's too late for fiscal 26, but in fiscal 27 and fiscal 28, I would recommend creating lines, and we can call it mill rate stabilization account. We can we can just call it the Bungay School Repayment Account, it doesn't matter what it's called, and put a certain amount of money in with the anticipation that we will be making that payment during fiscal '29. So you could have 3 years of potential payments built up. So even if, we can put, let's just say $200,000 from fiscal '24 and '25, we can reserve that. And if you did $200,000 or $300,000 in each of the next 3 years, you're very close to that number. So at that point, maybe you're only taking a few $100,000 out of fund balance. I mean, I know I say a few, like it's a small number. It's still a big number, but when you get in front of S&P at that point, we understood that this potentially was coming. We enacted a plan from day one, the second we had it. Here's what we've done. You lay it all out on the table in front of them. Seymour has a very good track record over the last 12 or 13 years or so with S&P because we've been very upfront with our plans. We've showed them a plan, then we've executed the plan. So we've been able to come back and say, 3 years ago, we told you we were going to do X, Y, and Z. Here we are 3 years later, we've done X, Y, and Z. And it's the same folks that do the review, so they get to understand the credit, and they know what's happening.
Right. Well, we still have time till, we can do this next meeting with plenty of time to still meet deadlines. So I would like to ensure that we're not making any rush decisions because this is a large expense. And I mean, I'm again going to say publicly, for anybody who wants to tour Bungay School, please reach out to Dr. Compton, our superintendent, reach out to our principal at Bungay, arrange a tour. And I can't see anybody, whether you have children or not, who would think that the school is appropriately, it's taken care of as well as it can. It's just incredibly aged. So something needs to be done. And I really encourage people to take a tour and schedule something. But again, it is a big expense, so I would like to make sure that we are given the time to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row and all of that research as far as upcoming potential town projects, because we're going to be locked into this for quite some time and it can't stall us from fixing other things. This is unfortunately what you deal with when you live in a town where our infrastructure is as old as it is, and it was not really, I don't want to say it's anybody's fault because it's just not how things necessarily were run before. When you're neglecting your infrastructure, we have a lot that we have to maintain, and when it comes to a head, it comes to a head, and it's what's smart to do now. The costs are only going to increase. So again, I completely support it, but we have to make sure we're not putting the town in a bind where we're dealing with, multiple mill increases because we can't support other projects, and we have to understand what we're getting into. So that's my suggestion.
So I guess, Trish, along those lines, just to give you a little additional information, when you look at your debt, they want to make sure that from the date you look at it forward, if you're adding new debt on, that within 10 years you've eliminated at least 50% of your principal and interest payments. So that helps just with your liquidity and everything else. So in our current setup, 10 years from now, we'll have eliminated 52.9% of our debt. If we went with the 66.9%, it would drop to 43.1%. S&P would ask a question, and their question would be, well, what additional debt would you be looking to bring on in the next 10 years? So that's where that question would come in.
Okay.
So, but again, that's not necessarily something that S&P would turn around and say no, or would nick us with. Again, even adding this debt, this issuance on, our debt ratios would still be well within range. And S&P, while they like a debt ratio between 6 and 8%, that's kind of the sweet spot. If you're below 6%, they're saying you're not reinvesting enough in your infrastructure. If you go over 8%, they say, okay, that's fine, but what's your plan? If you get to 10%, then they're, okay, you're living on a credit card. So they start to get concerned about that. So this, adding this debt on at 66.9% does not put us anywhere in the danger zone. We're still within that 6 to 8%. They're not going to have any problem with that. Actually, they're going to like it because we're showing a plan of reinvesting in our infrastructure. We have a track record of in the last 20 years of updating all of
Oh,
our schools.
I support
Yeah.
doing that, 100%. There's no doubt. I've seen the school. I sit on the committee and haven't wasted a few years of my life to come here and say, I don't support that. I understand how that works. But if I can be frank, I think everyone, I trust everyone that's sitting on this board and who sat here with me prior to some newer members have all made the best decisions that they can, but somehow we ended up making a decision to put solar panels on an aged building that, for the right reasons, but not really understanding that this could cause such a problem when we are going out to now renovate the building. This is all coming kind of to a head after the fact. You don't know what questions to ask. You think things are a good idea, and that's why I hate to rush things. And I'm just trying to slow down and make sure we have everything that we need to not make a rash decision. Do I support a school? And something needs to be done to the school, obviously. There's no question in my mind. But there's due diligence on our part, too, to make sure not only is the public aware, but comfortable that we have done everything we can and looked at everything we need to ensure that we're doing and making all the right decisions.
And just something to add into the record, just so it's in there. The way to avoid the $1.2 million penalty to the state of Connecticut is to keep the building online for educational purposes. So, I mean, that comes with a whole different set of expenses and things, and a whole other set of problems, I think, to the building committee. But that is just a way also to not have to make that payment. I don't think that's a feasible alternative, but it certainly could be an option.
Well, you're paying one way or the other, so.
Well, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's about making the right decision
Right.
for the right reasons with the right information and all of the information, right? So, okay,
Well,
thank you.
As you're on the building committee, right? And Fred's here, and so you guys can answer this question. If you left the school building up, if you left Bungay School up, where would the fields go? Because isn't that where the fields are supposed to go?
Well, there would be the possibility of creating a small field to the east of the school in the low wooded area. It would be a small field.
I apologize, Rich. Attorney Berturl asked me a question.
I asked him where the fields would go if we left that school up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and built the school, but left the building up?
When you say use for educational purposes, sorry, I just want to make sure I understand. When you use for educational purposes, right? Define educational purposes.
Well, I asked those questions. I tried to get creative with one of the ladies that I spoke with up at the state. We were just kind of kicking around some different ideas, and we got as far as, well, hey, they're knocking the building down to put playgrounds and ball fields and everything that will be used every day by the students for recess. This was her idea. She's like, well, hold on, maybe we have something. She reached out to legal, and I actually forwarded that information to Mr. Stanek. They said, no, that's too far for them. So it would have to be classroom space, kids in the classroom, operation.
What about outdoor? Did we ask about
manage.
outdoor classroom when weather permits? Science? No, that's not gonna, okay.
Not in Connecticut, unfortunately. I mean, if we were California or someplace like that,
We
maybe.
do get good weather once in a while.
Yeah, and central office doesn't even qualify. I tried that
Okay.
one too. Yeah, it doesn't qualify either. Yeah. Yeah, so.
Could
But-
it,
But again, I think the costs, doing something like that just to not pay the 1.2 million, we're going to spend substantially more than 1.2 million to do that. So if that's the case, just pay the 1.2 million and just move on. That's not a good, because the building itself is still going to need, so if, you wanted to put, a special ed, let's say, facility in there managed by the Seymour Board of Ed, you're still going to have to invest money into upgrading the building, is the problem.
Agreed.
So it's not a, it's a building that needs repair.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not an insurmountable amount of money.
yeah, this is gonna weird coming out of my mouth, but the 1.2 million doesn't, it is what it is. It's a cost of doing business. Not that I want to spend it, don't get me wrong, but we can build a plan toward it if that's what the 7 you want to do. We can absolutely build a plan towards it to make sure that it's not a problem.
I just have a few questions. The permanent bonds that you said that you go out for at the end, when are you looking to do that?
That would be, the permanent bonds would be after the completion of the school. So it would depend on the timeline. I'd defer that to the building committee.
Okay. And, all right, you gave a couple of scenarios. One of them, the first one was 1.1 million, 1.1 mil increase. The second one, you said the mill would be up for the first year, and then, can you just tell
Yep.
me about that second scenario?
Okay, so the first scenario with the lesser reimbursement, and I'll just keep it simple for you. We would have to pay about 1.5 million a year in principal and interest payments for the 30 years. The first year that it goes on, so the first year that we have to make the full payments, it's going to cause the mill rate to rise about 1.1 mil.
Okay.
The cheaper, I guess the higher rewarded
Right.
one, which would be, I believe it's 1.2 million a year in principal and interest payments. That would cause the mill rate to increase in the first year that it comes on about 0.95-ish in that ballpark. But again, once it's in, it's in. And then it levels off and it starts to decrease again. So it's going to be a 1-year spike.
Okay, then I had questions about all this solar roof and the boiler and, the solar panels, roof, and boiler.
Mhm.
So we got those in 2020, and we're paying them back for how many years?
It's 16 years, 16-year payback.
16 years. Okay, because I'm just thinking it wasn't a good decision. I don't want to say much more than that, but knowing what we're looking at right now and the condition that school is in, we can't go backwards, but I wish we didn't put that money into it. Is there any way we can recoup any of this, the boiler, the solar panels, selling them off to someone? I mean, is
Too
there any way
expensive.
we can make some money?
It's too expensive.
Too expensive to do
Yeah.
that. Can't even get money for scrap metal?
Oh, well, yeah,
Something here we need.
I'm sure there'll be scrap metal,
Okay,
but
good.
again, it was when it was set up as with it was part of a major green initiative that the town
Right.
went through, putting in solar on multiple buildings to
Mhm.
offset energy costs. So to say that it was a bad decision, I think, is a little
No.
unfounded. But
No, I kind of feel that way
well,
because,
that's-
it's just, we're here now.
I agree,
That's
but
your
in
right, yeah.
all fairness,
Right.
we're both kind of Monday morning quarterbacking.
Right, and that's why I
because
said
we
it's already
didn't
been
know this
done. We know
information
that.
5 years ago.
Right.
and-
And I
Yeah.
think to your point, Trish, I don't know if it's going to make any difference when we get this other information in. I think we still have to look at getting this moving. Yeah, I mean, I think we can wait another 2 weeks, but I don't think it's going to make any difference because I think we're all sitting here. We've all seen this school. We know what we have to do. So, I mean, if we do go vote for the resolution tonight, I'd vote in favor of moving it along.
I mean, I don't anticipate any new information between now and the 15th.
No.
To be quite honest with you, I don't.
That was going to be my first question to you, Mr. Miller.
So you're comfortable, but you're comfortable with S&P? And how I know there's no guarantees, but you're comfortable with the scenarios and providing our plan and looking at,
As comfortable as it can be. I mean, we've done 15 S&P presentations over the years, and they've always
I
gone
understand, but
successfully.
Thursday when we met with
But-
the building, with the building committee, right? I don't know if just between Thursday and today you've really come up, I mean, you might have, and that's fine, but we don't, my point is in order to have the paperwork in on time, we would need to definitely do something at our next meeting, but there is no rush that it must be done tonight. So if we need to give you 2 more weeks to think about how this is going to be presented to S&P, so there's more of a plan in place to make sure that our rating stays as much as we can where it's at, then I would be more in favor of that.
The plan that I'll put together will be based on the decision that you make. So if you make the decision to move forward, whether it's tonight or on the 15th, I'll start putting the plan together at that point. So, and it'll be a tentative plan until we see what happens at the October referendum.
Well, I understand.
Assuming it passes, I would expect that I would be back in front of this board in November with a formal plan that I would want you to vote on, so that way it's in the minutes, so when I am in front of S&P, I can turn to them and say, as you can see, we have a plan, it was voted on by the legislative body, and this is what we're going to do going forward to address this 1.2 million.
I'm going to ask a silly question. It's not like I want to make you do work if we're not sure what's going on, but understanding that I think the members of this board support the school, why would we not want to put something together to share with everyone beforehand?
I'll have a tentative plan by October, if that's what you're looking for to put out, absolutely. Absolutely.
I understand what you're saying, Tricia. I don't think, and before you guys get all huffy, just hold on. Right? I don't think with everything that's going on with the car, with the assessments going on, now is a great time. However, I do believe that we have to act on a referendum, and we have to put it out as much information as we have, the good, the bad, the ugly. I feel like I'm in a Clint Eastwood movie here. That we need to get that information out to the residents and let the residents decide yes or no. We have to have all their facts there, and not just all the fluffy facts, but all the ugly facts. Hey, listen, your mill rate is going to potentially go up 1.5 mil. It's not going up 1.5 mil every single year. It's at 1.5 mil, and yeah, that's a lot of money. Trust me, this year is going to stink for everybody.
Is it
Well,
1.5
look,
or 1.1?
1.1. Well, it's
One.
1.5 million
Mil,
of
yeah.
principal and interest,
Right.
but it's 1.1 mils.
Mils, right? 1.5 mil or 0.95 of a mil.
Right.
No matter how we look at it, whether we pass that resolution today or we pass that resolution in 2 weeks from now, we know that that we have to put out there because it has to go out to the residents.
I understand that. My comment was to have a plan for S&P. I wanted to know what that was before we moved forward.
If you
You're
vote
saying
to,
you were going to not put that together until you know what we are deciding.
well, I
I
would know
don't-
that by I would start working on that tomorrow or on the 16th, depending whatever the vote is. And I would probably come back when I do the presentation for the strategic plan at our next meeting. I would probably ask to update it and add this as a piece of the strategic plan, so then it's locked in and needs to be talked about. So it's just not something that's just kind of floating out there, but it's something that's actually has some deliverables.
Okay. I think it's a little backwards, but
Which part's a little backward?
I don't know, maybe I'm confused because I feel like understanding and getting us comfortable with how it's presented to S&P to make sure our bond rating doesn't go up, because again, that's going to increase the rates even more, and we don't know what it's going to be by the time we go out. Like you said, they've been going up. By the time we actually go out to secure the loan, we don't know what that's going to be. If our bond rating drops and our rates are affected by our bond rating, now we're paying a certain percentage more. So that's why I'm saying I think it would be helpful to understand what the plan is that presenting to S&P, how we planned for this ahead of time.
Yep.
If we're going with, to go with build as new.
I don't
Because
think
that's it's the right decision to make.
the 1.2. It's a point well taken. The 1.2 million will not come into effect until the second S&P presentation, which will be when we're finalizing the bonds. So in the initial presentation for the bands, if they don't ask the question, we are not going to volunteer it.
When are
As I
they
say
gonna-
this in a public meeting, but we're not going to volunteer it. So if they don't specifically ask the question, we don't have
Not
to
going
provide
to
them
see
the
it.
information. No, not at all. We have to answer the questions that they ask us. Because here's the thing.
Oh, I know that.
Because
but
here's the
at
thing,
some
we
point
could
they see
make,
the payment
we
on
could
the
make
book.
a legislative request, and the state could waive it, and we have no repayment at all,
Okay.
and then it doesn't happen.
That's not a guarantee.
If that did not happen, and we do ultimately have to make the payment when we're going to make permanent at that point,
That's the only
then
time
I
we
would,
see it on
then
the
I would
books.
present, hey, we have this $1.2 million payment. We had this concern 3 years ago. We put this plan in place.
That's my question, though. They're going to see it on the books. At what point do they see it on the books?
After.
Technically, after. So when it would hit us, potentially, if we said nothing and they didn't ask the question, if they did a surveillance audit after we made the bonds permanent. So now you're talking 2030, maybe, is when they would see it. And at that point, they're going to, the surveillance audits, they're going to say, whoa, what's this $1.2 million? Why, what happened to your fund balance?
Okay.
And
And at
we are
that
going
point,
to
you
work
should
on
reach
trying to get that 1.2 million waived.
Correct.
Whether
Which
it's
is-
through a
At
special
some point, they're going to
permit.
ask.
Which is what you said
And there's
before,
another
right? Is that what
avenue
you were
that I've
talking-
discovered that we might go down too. So we'll be working on that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's, you know,
Okay, thank you.
it's slippery, but it's not undoable.
All right, so I gotta be honest, I'm a little confused why we spotted this issue about the solar panels now, but I don't wanna point fingers at the architects, at anybody in town hall, at myself, even though I out of sight, out of mind. I forgot those panels were even on top of the school. So I don't recall all the votes about it from 5 years ago. I'd have to go back and refresh my recollection, but that said, I like the idea of what we've discussed so far tonight and solving the issue and not getting into petty finger pointing. So I like that. I'm always about that. The one thing I want to get clarity about, I would like, Mr. Miller, if there's a written opinion from bond counsel regarding the two issues that they think we can circumvent with the lease purchase contract and the tax exempt lease. Is there something in writing from them that you could share with us?
No.
They didn't put their opinion in writing yet?
It was an in-person
No.
meeting.
Okay.
It was-
I would ask
it was
them
a
to put
discussion.
something in writing about that. I think that's just good practice, just get them to,
If you vote to move forward with building a new school, then yes, we'll
Great.
codify all of that.
Great.
Because bond council is going to have to do some research,
yeah, obviously.
and we're going to have to start spending money, but that's not a spigot you want to turn on unless you have to,
Okay.
because they get very expensive very
I'd
fast.
like something in writing, though, at some point if we move forward.
If
All right. Yep. So I have some questions about the 10% extra from the state. I need some more data. I need data regarding, is it historically given to towns? Because I know you have some hesitation and you're planning for the worst contingency, but I'd like to know our odds, so to speak. If not, why not? How many times has it been not granted to towns in the last 5, 7, or 10 years?
Mhm.
And I'd like that data in order to be informed. So when you talk about that 10%, I have an idea whether it's historically granted or not, or are we really hoping and praying they're going to give it to us? I need some clarification on that.
I mean, I could do some research on that. I would assume if the building committee was bringing it up and the architect was talking about it, that it's probably very likely. But from where I sit, I have to prepare you for the worst-case scenario that we
No,
don't get
agreed.
it.
I just would like the
So,
data.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
understand what you're doing. I would like the hard data, just so I have an idea, because maybe
I can
you're
work with
saying
Mr. Stanek to see
it
if
may
I can
not
get
happen,
that.
but it
Yep.
might.
I would
I'd
assume
like to
it's,
know the odds.
I would
I'm an
assume
odds
it's
guy.
probably pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm sure you want more than me saying it's pretty good.
Well, I would just like the data.
Yep, yep.
You know, if we have it, I'd like to see it.
Yep.
So, yeah, that'd be great. I think that, other than that, I've heard what Tricia has said. I've heard from Teresa, I've heard Anne Marie make some comments. I mean, we've spent a lot of time on this, and I don't think, I don't want to eat it either, but $1.2 million issue in order to not go forward with a new school, I think would be foolish. Penny wise and pound foolish, especially after all the time we put into this. The infrastructure has not been touched in a long time. There are a lot of opportunities over the years to address Bungie. For whatever reason, it wasn't done. Now's the time is ripe. So I would support going forward with the resolutions tonight after what I've heard you say. The follow-up questions Trish had, and what I know about the project. I don't know a ton about it other than what I've heard here tonight in other meetings. I'm not on the committee. But I know the condition of Bungie. My kids went there. It's not great. It's not great for the staff It's not good for retaining staff. It's not good for admin. And it's a bad look for the town. Another school has been addressed. It's just time. It's time. It's a huge investment in our community. People move to Seymour because of a school district, just like they do because it's a quiet little town, and that's maybe what they want. They don't want a city. They don't want too rural. We're kind of a mix of that urban, suburban. So I think it's an investment in our community. Like you said, we're going to have to suck it up for the first year, and then it's going to level out. So it's a little bump, and then we level it out. It's no different from what we've done with our roads, in my opinion, improving infrastructure, replacing the police department roof, Chatfield, Presti, etc. So those are my thoughts.
If I may, Madam First Selectwoman.
Of course.
Mr. Miller, I'd like to thank you for your analysis and going through the financial aspects of this issue, especially with the solar. I made it very clear that it was important that we be transparent, put everything on the table with regard to those issues. And thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
I could go through and talk about some of the topics that have been, some of the issues that we just talked about. The important thing is that we need to improve the educational quality, the facility of Bungay School. And this will be the project to do it. We have voted affirmatively as a community with regard to Chatfield Presti, the high school, and the middle school over the past 2 decades. We need to take the final step with Bungay School. Bungay School is in need of improvement. It's not in terrible shape, but it's in need of improvement, especially from an educational specification perspective. It needs to accommodate today's education especially for special education, preschool education, and we need to make the school palatable for our pre-K through fifth grade, excuse me. This is the important thing that we have to do. We as a community need to spend this money, and we're going to spend it well by improving our school. We talk about the bonding authorities. They look to see that we are improving our community. What better way to improve our community than with educationally sound, modern schools? We're going to have that with this building. This is going to be a tough sell to the public. I know that. It's a difficult time. We have reassessment, we have budget issues, we have issues where Washington is going to be sending us less money, most likely. I'm not saying that from a political perspective, but we have to make this work. And it's going to be a tough referendum. And we have a lot of people in favor of this project, and I appreciate it. I cannot tell you how many older folks, my age group, have approached me in favor of the project. And I think we're going to make this work. I really do. But it's important that we move forward. We can get upset about $1.2 million, but we have to move forward, and we're going to save the money by moving forward now. It's estimated by the architects that the cost to rebuild this building or build this building will increase by 4% per year in the near future. So the sooner we do this, the sooner we get it done. We owe this to our children. We owe it to our grandchildren. We need to move forward. I can answer any questions from the perspective of the committee. The Bungay Elementary Building Committee did discuss repurposing the building. The consensus was not to go forward with repurposing the building. That's up to this board, the existing building. The consensus of the committee after Thursday night's discussion was to go forward with the new school. That's not a final vote for that committee, but it's our vote. Thank you.
No, I'm good. You answered my questions. Thank you.
As I said, I personally, with everything going on with the reevaluations, the philosophical shift in taxes in the state, going on to the homeowners and away from the car taxes, I don't think it's a good time, but when is a good time? I think that we owe it as a board to send it out to the referendum and to have the voters have their say on it and go that way. Okay? All right.
No, I support the new school. I want to be clear. I just wanted more information, and in speaking with Chairman Stanek before, there was no need to have it completed tonight. We did have 2 more weeks, so if everyone's comfortable, then I'm supporting the new school. Was my vote on the committee, and I sit here to support that.
So we have to pass a resolution tonight, Kurt. Hello? Yeah. As soon as we figure out which one we're reading.
We just want to double check things and make sure everything's correct. So in your packets, you have 3 resolutions that were crafted by Attorney Stanek,
No other than Attorney Fred.
and no other than Attorney
And the
Stanek.
resolutions are based upon the guidance from the Connecticut Department of Administrative Services, which administers the reimbursement grants.
So these, and Attorney Stanek can opine more, but these are the 3 resolutions needed for the for the architects to prepare the packet to forward up to the state of Connecticut for reimbursement,
Okay.
to qualify
To qualify.
for the initial reimbursement,
Right.
correct?
You gonna read it into motion?
I think Mr. Stanek should do it.
Well, thank you. I would like to move that we pass the following 3 resolutions. Resolved, that the Seymour Board of Selectpersons authorizes the Seymour Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the construction of a new Bungay Elementary School. Second resolution. Resolved, that the Bungay Elementary School Building Committee is hereby authorized as the building committee with regard to the construction of a new school at the site of the Bungay Elementary School. Third resolution. Resolved, that the Seymour Board of Selectpersons hereby authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outlined specifications for the construction of a new school at the site of the Bungay Elementary School.
Can I have a motion?
So
That's my motion.
That's your motion? Motion by Fred?
I'll second.
Second by Alberna. All in favor? Discussion, sorry. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 5-0-0.
The one thing I'd like to remind the body, on December 17th, the board voted to send this to referendum for a new school, and the referendum date was October 9th, so we picked the date of October 9th. What this board, I don't believe, has done is actually put a dollar figure on it for a referendum question.
We did not, because we did not have a dollar amount at the time.
Right, so we may want to do that at the next meeting,
Yes,
so we can craft a question for the referendum.
thank you.
Okay. Long discussion. Number 12, discussion and possible action regarding the Strategic Planning Committee. As the board knows, we've been going back and forth with having the committee here, and Bob Finley is not here, and neither is Marty. So I guess that we table this until unless the board wants to make a decision to disband the Strategic Committee, or you want to wait until the other member of the Strategic Plan Committee is here again. But I really don't want to keep tabling this and tabling this and tabling.
Can I ask, should we have a special meeting regarding that issue then, and we can get Pat and Bob on a Zoom or something and discuss it there? Anne Marie, is that worth it? Because we have kicked the can down the road a couple of times now,
Yeah.
because they're unable to be here for legitimate reasons. Just throwing it out there as a suggestion. Not saying we do it, I'm just suggesting. Depends on.
What is the board's pleasure?
I think we should have Bob's input, since he's been on the board for at least 10 years on that planning committee.
Yeah.
So I think it would be important to have his input.
Bob's been on the committee for 3 or 4, but still
Okay.
important.
Yeah, I don't think it's been around for
But I would support a special meeting because he's not been able to join us.
her work.
Fair idea.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would support a special
Alright.
meeting.
Let's see
We're
if
quite overdue.
let's see if we can get a special meeting between now and the next meeting. If not, then we'll have it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Next meeting.
Okay, so can I have a motion table?
Make a motion.
Motion by Al, second by Trish. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 5-0. Appointments. These appointments are not correct. Jenny Rice
No,
came off the Affordable Committee, and Jean Chapman came off the Affordable Committee.
correct.
Kurt, these appointments aren't correct. You guys put the package, Jenny Rice and Jean Chapman both came off the Affordable Commission, Affordable Housing Commission. We were supposed to appoint Matt
Malberti,
Malberti,
not to this.
not to this,
No, he was on P and Z.
on planning
We
and
did
zoning.
that.
There are no appointments.
Okay.
Transfers, there's no transfers. Tax refunds and abatements in your packet. There's a tax refund and abatement. Please make sure there are no conflicts.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Trish,
Second.
second by Teresa. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Correspondences, there's no correspondences. Public comment. Is there any public comment? Public comment going twice.
Hello, Nicole Harriet McCullough. Couldn't help myself, huh? 58 West Street, Seymour. I was prepared with several things if it had gone in the wrong direction, feverishly taking notes. I want to thank all of you on behalf. I'm fresh to this new committee that we have created. It's the Bungay School Rebuild Alliance. And, you know, we're growing and learning. And truly, thank you, Kurt, because it was a real clear look at numbers and how to move forward, because we have those numbers as taxpayers as well. And I just want to be, you know, clear in that we could speak of solar arrays. Like you said, we could point fingers of how we should have moved forward in a different direction or navigated it differently, but we didn't. And we're not just talking about infrastructure. We're not just talking about solar arrays. We're not just talking about $1.2 million. We're talking about our children. We're talking about a staff, parents, admins, volunteers, seniors, reading mentors, our community that are in an incredibly, frankly, dangerous situation each day. And the only correction I would make is that it is terrible, but it is only the infrastructure that is terrible. The people in that school and what they have created and what they are turning out is exactly why my family and I and all of us here and beyond are in Seymour. And so I think in moving forward, I can respect your questioning and your understanding, but we need to be 100% wholeheartedly behind this project. And while Kurt and his team and every one of us puts together the pieces for our community to see, which I hear you, the good, the bad, the ugly, right? Let the people vote. Give them the details. Let them know the true environment we are in and are putting our children in every day, and let them vote for the better future of all of us. And so thank you for moving in that direction today. I do have some other questions, but I'll hold them. And thank you very much. I am very confident that we have a vote yes, and I think with all of your support, I think we'll get there. So thank you very much for tonight. It felt good, and I look forward. Bye-bye.
Rebecca Bennett, 21A Cozy Lane, also a member of the Bungay Building Committee and part of the Alliance. Thank you, and thank you for all the clear information. We appreciate that. Some information Mr. Bruno had asked that I just want to address when we talked about the data on schools and the reimbursement and the kicker. It actually was informed to us, and we got further information that really they're going for new, the state, because if you have the land, they would rather you go in that direction at this point because they want that 20-year certification. We were told that the only renovations that have been approved, even renovate as new, have been Hartford. And because that area is so so stamped that there's nowhere for them to build. So those are the really only renovations that have been approved since COVID that the state wants us to go in this direction. I also am very positive that with the proper information and education that we can get this referendum to pass. I think it is a hard time, but kind of like Anne Marie said, when we moved the referendum date, I was like, it's always going to be something. I feel like when it was in March, whether it's in October, we're in an ever-changing world and we're always going to face something. But I think the importance of the children, the importance of, look, my in-laws told me that in 1916 they moved into this town because of Bungay. My oldest brother-in-law, who's here, it was important to them where he went to school. And that's what brought them here. And that's the same thing that's going to bring people into this town moving forward. That is our revenue. That is our tax money. Sorry, Tom.
The whole older part.
What's that?
The whole older part.
The whole,
You said the older brother.
Well,
You
keep
could have said
repeating
my
it, Anne Marie. The guy that
brother.
buys the resident.
now you're adding fuel to the fire.
All right.
If I couldn't say anything back, I'm only kidding. But no, I'm very appreciative because as a building committee, we really have worked very, very hard on this. And we have evaluated, renovate to new was also a great option to us. It wasn't that we were against that, but after spending tedious hours and realizing that the comparison was so close and that we're certifying a new building, a safe building with, modern technology, but we're meeting ed specs. Special education is a problem right now. We're way below with our rating of what we're supposed to be meeting. And that's eye-opening. So it's not just a building to us. It's so much more than that. So thank you, because we do need to get this in by June to the state for, like Mr. Miller had said, to look for this year. So it's really important that we do move forward with this and tonight. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Public comment going one last time. No further public comment? Okay, great. Select persons, public comment. Teresa?
I just have, a few comments. I think last meeting you mentioned something about Chatfield School, the speeding there, that it wasn't a school zone?
Yeah, I see their signs up there.
I was going to say, for as long as I ever remember, there's always been, 25 miles an hour in school zone. So where did that come from?
The chief.
Okay.
Apparently they have to, the chief of police mentioned Skokorat in the speed zone and having it be 25, and because the roads in Seymour are actually, if it's not posted,
Right.
it says 30.
Right.
It is the 35. So I have to ask him for a little bit more.
Yeah, ask them for that, because on both sides it says that, yeah. Okay.
That doesn't make sense.
Obviously a school zone.
Obviously.
Yeah, and the signage is there. I know they have that new camera up there.
Yeah, that's a traffic counter?
Correct.
So that we could, traffic counter or the speed, so we can see who's going through, but that's also where the speed camera is gonna
Right,
go?
right. The other thing is, I've been noticing a lot of signs being put up on telephone poles and, the lawn signs for whoever's advertising for cut your lawns and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know who in town we can have take them down, if it's Public Works or, I don't know.
Planning and zoning, P&Z, or the zoning enforcement officer.
Okay, because
and
they're
our
really
blight. So
getting
they'll-
a
they-
lot.
Well, it's springtime and that's when it
Yeah,
starts coming
no,
out.
it's more than
So we'll
I've ever
mention it
seen.
to them. I
Thank
saw
you.
that the other day.
I see we moved the annual town meeting to the gymnasium. That was
Yes.
good, because I did have the concern about the elevator not working in the building. And then just finally, I'm seeing this new proposal in Oxford for development right after Mountain Road.
Yes.
I think they're having a hearing tonight on that. How does Oxford feeds into our water pollution control? We have an agreement with them? Will
Part-
this impact our usage?
So part of Oxford feeds into our WPCA, yes. There is an agreement with Oxford that we bill Oxford for however many houses hook up to it. So they would be given an assessment fee of however many apartments they are. They would have to pay us to hook it up.
Okay.
And then we bill Oxford, and Oxford bills their residents that are hooked up to the sewer assessment.
Okay,
So yes, there is, and our plant is not even at 50% capacity.
okay. All right, that was my concern.
Because that was I did receive a phone call on it, and they said that would not bring our plant up to capacity either.
Okay.
And I said, even with the potential 55 and older that AJ Grasso's looking at, and they said no.
Okay.
So.
Alright.
Okay.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that I read the posting on Facebook about the class of Seymour Middle School exploring and writing essays about the new park, the Chewstown Community Park, and they did research on it. So I think it's a good thing that we renamed the park.
That was Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Also, I would like to mention my good friend, Commissioner Emeritus now of the Public Utility Regulatory Authority, retired from the authority after 28 years as a commissioner, and after 38 years as in state service, 10 years as our 105th state representative, and 28 years on PURA. And there was a celebration in Hartford 2 weeks ago, attended by the governor, legislative leaders, and many of the people that Jack worked with. So Jack Bukowski gave 38 outstanding years of governmental service to our state and our community, and I just wanted to recognize him at this in this forum, and he's a good friend of mine. Thanks.
Yes, he did. Al?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. Yeah, it's about the kids at the end of the day, right? And maybe I didn't say that in my comments, but obviously it's about the kids. And in spite of that old, tired building, everything was always bright and brightened up, and the attitudes of staff were always positive whenever my wife and I would go for a parent-teacher conference. And my kids had a blast at Bungay. Battle of the Books was a big deal in the Bruno house. And let me tell you, there's still some chest thumping about who got more Battle of the Books first place trophies than the other person. So I'm not going to tell you who has the lead and who didn't. Katie's a beast. But they had a great time. And my wife also worked in the building. Well, she was in Seymour and has nothing but high accolades for everybody she worked with at Bungay. So people need to understand that, yeah, it's a great staff, and the kids are, kids first, and it's all about our kids. But the bottom line is, yeah, it's time, right? It's time. So I would just say, we really need to sell this and do it the right way. And we need parents to come out and vote for it. And I know that's in the audience's capable hands. And I know our town will do everything it can to put its best foot forward to get this thing done. So, just want to thank you all for coming out tonight.
Trish?
I got the eyes.
Oh, no, I didn't mean to even ask. I'm just tired.
So,
Usually I get the look.
I actually wasn't going to say anything tonight, but to be clear and for the record, I do support the new school. I missed the young lady's name who got up to speak. What was your name? Nicole. All right. Well, I thought Becky was our biggest cheerleader. And she did speak really highly of the Bungay Alliance that was put together. And if they have half the energy that you do, I mean, I'm replacing you. I think Nicole's got you beat just a little bit, Becky. But if the Alliance has half the energy that you do, we are in very, very good hands. So thank you.
She's giving out hula hoops with them. Great. Thank you.
And if I may just say one more thing, I'd like to thank my fellow board members of this board for supporting the new school and us moving forward tonight.
Great, thank you. On to the select women's comments. So Teresa, I'm glad you brought up the Route 67 and that, because that is a lot on Facebook, as is the potential for a 55 and older community on Prospect, which we're going to be voting for. As you know, 55 and olders, which are great for Seymour because they don't cost anything to our schools, they don't affect our trash or plowing, and it's a limited financial impact that we have. So when things like this come in front of our board, our planning and zoning board, they're hit with a lot of negativity. So it's important that we get out and we support the new businesses or the new buildings that are happening in town, because that offsets our taxes. And when we have the negativity at the planning and zoning boards, it's something the boards hear. They hear the negativity, they don't hear the positivity. So we need to make sure that we're at the boards and give them the support as well for new businesses and new buildings coming in. Construction has started on Bungee Road. It has. I took my spider out the other day. It has, right? So, as you'll see, the new storm drains are in, the stop signs are in, they moved the telephone poles, they've cut the trees. We drive down Holbrook Road, and we remember what Holbrook used to look like. I mean, I was scared driving when I was younger, driving down that road, figuring out the boogeyman was going to jump out in front of me or something. But now, you joke, I swear. But now it's like a different country road, right? And that's what Bungee Road is going to be. It's going to be a whole new road, and you see the guys are out there working. There's plenty of police officers out there working. So the construction is starting, and I'm just gonna say it once right now. We cannot pave the road right now. Okay? We cannot pave it. The road's not going to be paved until the very end. However, Botsford Road is going to be milled and paved first, and then up into the ball field where the middle school is, and then that's where they're going to start the whole road process. So for those that are going on Facebook and saying, when is Bungee Road going to be paved? Not anytime soon. As I stated earlier this year, Kurt and I are handling the economic development opportunities. One of the last things Sheila did was get us linked up with this web provider, allowing us to update commercial real estate listings in Seymour on our website, and we have it up and running. So if you go to seymourct.org, click on the economic development tab, you will see that there's a link listing all our commercial properties, buildings that are up for lease, rent, or for sale. So anybody that's interested in coming to the town can go right there and they'll see it all. And I think it costs maybe, what was it, $4,000 for a year? $4,800 for a year, which is really reasonable, right? It just draws people to you there. We met with a business team looking to bring in a project to Tri-Town. They are now working with Ron Spector on an agreement details. So there's a potential daycare center going in down there near Bouchibon, and this other thing that I cannot mention as of yet. Sorry. When I have more detail, I can mention it. The Housatonic House opened this past Thursday. I was about to say Wednesday, but it was Thursday. So Mike is back open. The food is delicious. They have a couple of new things on their menu.
They're great.
And believe it or not, we received phone calls from people up in the industrial park saying, "Can you come and do Small Business Wednesday with us, please?" Because they are mom and pop's facilities. So what started off as a, hey, new company just opened up, and Steven saying, why don't we go and do them a Facebook Live, which started out every Wednesday of doing Small Business Wednesday. And when we did Jerry's Meat Market, they're like, we didn't even know we had a meat market in town. I'm like, what? They've been here for years. Yeah. So it's good that other businesses are seeing it and they want to be spotlighted, and it's just bringing more awareness to what we have in our small town. The next couple of weeks, we're going to meet with the owner of 165 Main Street, the vacant hole for the past 3 years. So we'll be meeting with them to go over and discuss some things. The Fitness Zone in Seabridge Plaza has a new owner, and we're very excited for them, and we'll be spotlighting them soon on Small Business Wednesday. The Dunkin' Donut Plaza is now open. For those asking on Facebook, it is now open. That's the one in the Seabridge Plaza. And I just want to let you know, planning and zoning has the ultimate say regarding what can and cannot come in. So it's important when we start talking about businesses coming in, we get to the planning and zoning board, we watch those meetings, and we go there and we're in support, or if you're not in support, I'm not telling you how to vote for support, but it's important. You know, we had some housing that wanted to go in, and Mary, it was met with a lot of negativity. So it's important that we get to these other board meetings as well and show support for businesses and housing that wants to come in. Dock 34 will be opening later this month. And Ryan's Farm sold, and we heard several ideas won't be going in there, and housing was not one of them. So, I mean, there's rumors going around of a goat farm, a winery, just open trail, so there's something going. Ryan's Farm is on Buckingham, down in the bottom, going to 34 into Derby. This past Sunday was This Is Me Inclusion in our community walk. It was a little chilly, to say the least, but Trish, Kurt, Alex, and I had a blast walking it. We kept warm because the track was a little warm. And the Household Hazardous Waste event is going to be held April 12th from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock at the Naugatuck Transfer Station located at 34 Andrew Avenue in Naugatuck. It's open, it's free to the residents, so any old paint, chemicals, grass, pesticides you want to get rid of, that's the place to bring it. It doesn't go into the garbage that goes into our landfill. They have a special way of treating it and taking care of it. And one more thing I wanted to share with everybody, because I also saw someone saying, well, gosh, I hope Seymour doesn't do it. This came from Martin Heft, and it's pursuant to the June Special Session Act 24-1, Section 13, that effective July 1, 2025, the Office of Policy and Management shall notify the chief executive officers of each municipality of the following. 1, annually, A, of the municipality options to reduce the mill rate for motor vehicles to lower than 32.46 mils, including 0 mils, and B, that such mill rate may be different from the mill rate for real property and personal property other than motor vehicles to comply with the provisions of this section, provided the mill rate for motor vehicles is lower than the mill rate for real property and personal property. And 2, in advance of the implementation of municipality reevaluation pursuant to Section 12-62 of the municipality option to consider and evaluate the reduction in the mill rate for motor vehicles in the same fiscal year in which the reevaluation is implemented. So everybody's wondering, what the heck happened? Our house was reevaluated 40 to 60%. Our mill rate should have went down to 22, but what happened was our mill rate was at a 36, our car mill rate was at a 32.64, and they're saying, you're lower than a 32.64. You now have to take your mill rate and lower it to what your property mill rate is. So it's sort of a philosophical change as what the state is doing, because they've heard the residents' complaint about car taxes. So what they're trying to do with over the next 5 years is get rid of the car taxes and switch it over. The rumor is switch it over to the property taxes. So instead of our houses being at 70%, they're going to be at a 90% assessment. So this is the chance. So when people are wondering, why the mill rate, why didn't it go down? Why is it still up? We're spending so much money. It didn't go down because of the car. We had it equal out with our car taxes, the loss of revenue from our car taxes as well. So I just want to make sure I explained that. I know I put a video out earlier this month about it, but I want to make sure people understand that even with the 0% balance, 0% budget, your taxes would still be going up because of this. So with that, we're going to adjourn at 8:43. Adjourn, not adjoin, adjourn. I'll join the meeting.